Hey crafty friends, it's Rick. I'm back with another video. Today we are going to be featuring products from CC Designs. And this is products that will be coming out very, very soon at like the end of this week when this goes live. This is the new Bumbles Stamp Set. And it's part of our October release. And so I'm going to be featuring this today. We're going to make a clean and simple card using this stamp set. I've already stamped out my little Bumble, and I've got him right here. We're going to use 3 different sets of Triblend markers to color him and a colorless blender. So I've got that right there. So we're going to get started on him. I'm going to start off by coloring the star. We're going to start with our lightest color, and I'm going to add that where I want the dark to be. So I'm going to add that here. I've stamped this out in tuxedo black ink on a piece of Hammermill smooth cardstock. Now I'm going to switch over to the dark, and I'm going to lay that in where I want this star to be the darkest. Just a little right there. I'll switch over to the medium, and I'm going to color that. This will be predominantly most of my image. Make sure I've got that nice and blended. Then I can switch back over to my lightest color, which is GY Gold Yellow to blend. And I'll blend that out. Now, if it doesn't blend very well, just give it a little bit, come back and do a second coat, which is what we're going to do, and it'll blend a little bit better. We're going to go ahead and color up our little Bumble. I'm going to use my ice blue blends next. I'm using the 3 as the darkest color. It's 3, 2, and 1 in this set. So I'm going to start off with the lightest color, add in where I'm going to put my shadows, because you want to wet the paper with the alcohol to get these to blend really well. So we'll go ahead and do lay in our dark color. And yes, he is normally white. We're just adding in our shadows to make him appear white. I'm also going to add a little bit more color into it as well. I'm going to add a little bit of purple into this white to really make it pop off the page. So I'm going to come in, and I'm going to add a little of this dark purple color in certain areas. And then I'll blend that out. And I'll blend this with the lightest color. So we'll come right along here. I'm going to transition back over to my lightest blue, and I will blend these two together. That light purple and that lightest blue. And then I'm going to take my colorless blender, and I will soften the edge of that so it blends into the white of the paper. And that way, once we get our background on there, he's going to appear white. So now we're going to do the rest of his little body. And I'm just going to start flicking in some color. I'm going to go ahead and go with the darkest, because that's going to actually be the base color. So I'm going to lay in that. I found these image super easy to color. So that was fabulous. And this, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, this release is super cute. Everybody is going to love it. And I would say it will probably sell out really quick. So make sure come Friday, when it goes live, you're going to take advantage of that. I know there will be an Instagram hop on Friday as well. So you're going to want to hop over there. I think they will be giving away, it's usually I think a $15 gift certificate to the store. So you'll definitely want to take advantage of that. All right, now I'm going to come in with the lightest color of my purple. And I'm going to add in a little bit of that and blend right over the blue I have down. And I'm going to come back and blend that out again in just a second. So purple is a little bit cooler and darker than our lightest blue. And once I add in my background that I have planned, you will understand why we're doing this with these two colors for our shadow colors. So add in that. I'm just coming back and blending over our color. And then I'll take my colorless blender and soften that edge. Soften all that. And it really depends on the area is where I add which color. Like underneath his little neck, we're going to go with our lightest purple first, because it would be a little bit more in shadow. And I can go ahead and add that to his little arm over here. And we'll add it over here as well, because that's how it's facing. Under our little breastplate. A little bit more color there. I'm going to come in with that lightest color, that lightest blue, and come right over that. Get these two to blend together. And you can start seeing how they interact with each other. And start blending together. I'm just going to pull that out. And I'll come in and soften that to the white of the paper. With my colorless blender. And also, if I messed up like I did right there, it'll lift that up. It does take a little bit of time. Just to be patient. Take your time. Blend that out. And also, I'm going to add just a little bit under his little hand right there. So I'll go ahead and soften that. Next, we're going to do his legs and his feet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that purple into his fur. I'll switch over to my lightest blue and I'll blend these together. They usually blend pretty easy because they are the same last number. So we'll go ahead and blend that out. We'll switch back over to our purple. Add that. All right, we've got our purple laid in. I'm going to come back over that with my lightest blue, which is the Ice Blue. If I didn't mention it, it's Ice Blue 1. And blend those together. Pull in our colorless blender here. And we'll get him blended out. All right, let's do his face now. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my darkest. I'm going to lay in right around his hairline, because that would be more in shadow. I will pull this out slightly around the edge of his face. A little right there. Switch over to our medium color. I'll blend that around. I'm going to add some on his little nose. Right there. We'll blend everything together with our lightest blue. We'll do the same thing to his little hands. I do have to pull red for his nose, or for his tongue. So we'll do that. We'll just finish coloring up his little hands here. I just went ahead and laid in that dark first. I can switch over to my lightest color. Blend all this together. We'll go ahead and do his other little hand on this side. It's going to be casting a shadow because our light's coming from this way, so to have a little bit more shadow right there. Under here is going to be more of a shadow. Add that right there. On the back side. So go ahead and blend all this out with our medium. Now I'm coming over what I previously colored so that that blends together really well. I'll come back and do that other finger in just a second. All right, let's do this little finger up here. Add in our shadow and our mid-tone and our light. And we can do his little toes. So I'm gonna add, since we have that fur coming up over there, we're gonna add our shadow in there. We'll have our mid-tone right there. And the very tip of his toes will be our lightest area. So we'll lay in our shadows on our other side. Darkest on the toes are going to be where the fur overlaps his toes and where the toes are together. Do our lightest color. Okay, I went ahead and just grabbed a coral for the tongue. So I'm going to start off with the lightest color. This is going to be back in the back. It's going to be darker. And I did grab my brush marker for this because my other Triblends are in the house. I've been working on some coloring DT projects at night while I watch TV. And that way it keeps me not bored with the TV shows. I do have a tendency to get a little bored when it comes to some of the TV shows. So it just keeps me entertained. I got to be doing something. All right, so there's our little tongue in there. I'm going to push that back off his teeth. So I'll just use my colorless blender, blend that out. Now you can already see he still looks white, and it's going to be pop even more in just a little bit. I do want to add a little bit of color to his teeth for a shadow. So I'm just going to come in with that purple, lightest purple. And I'm going to add this into his little mouth. Just so there's a little bit of color on that white on his teeth. Because there would be a little bit of shadow in there. And by the way, my panel's cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. All right, we're going to take a large circle stencil. And I'm going to place that over my panel, where I'm going to place it where I want him to be. And I'm going to take some tape, and I'm going to flip this over. I hold it where I want it. I can add tape to the back. This is going to be my little mask. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little shaded lilac and tumbled glass to the background. And that way this mask will help me keep that area clean, the rest of the card. So I'm going to add some of that. I'm adding the shaded lilac first. Add a little on this side. And I try to stay away from the image as much as possible. So he doesn't get too much color on him from the other. Tumbled glass and shaded lilac are like two of my favorite winter color combinations. It's a pretty winter color combo, I think. So we're going to add that tumbled glass in on here. I'll add a little on this side. Now I do have a snowflake stencil. I'm going to add some snowflakes in there as well. So I'm just going to take that. I'm going to use those same colors. And add a little heavier hand of ink application in there. Add the shaded lilac in there as well. Add some of those up here. I'm going to move my stencil. That way I can move it around, add some more in that background. I'm just going around the edge, adding a little detail. I'm going to take what's on my brush and just add it in there. All right, I'm going to remove this stencil. We can remove our tape now. You can see how that made him pop out a little bit more. We're going to place our card front back into our Misty. And then we are going to pick out our sentiment we're going to use. We have Sparkle and Shine. It's Christmas time and 'tis the season to sparkle. I think we're going to use the 'tis the season to sparkle this time. This week is sneak peek week for the new release, so you will be seeing projects from the design team featuring all these fabulous new products. So you're going to find those on Instagram and everywhere else. So you're definitely going to want to check this out. All the release out this week. We'll be doing a different stamp set or two each day. Today's just the first day. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment, and I'm going to use VersaFine Clear ink. All right, off camera, I went ahead and decided I wanted to cut out some snowflakes, so I grabbed some dies from my stash, cut those out from just plain white cardstock. So I've got my top folding A2 card base. We're going to add our card front to that. Before I add my snowflakes, so I am going to add a little sparkle as well as our gel pen highlights. So we'll go ahead and add our card front to our card. And we could go ahead and stamp one of the bumbles on the inside. So let's do that. We're going to add our other bumble to the inside of our card. And we'll add our inside sentiment as well. Let's see, I want just a blue ink, a light blue ink. So I'm gonna stamp that a couple times. Our inside sentiment, I'll add my little bumble in just a second. Him where we want him to be. And I'm going to stamp him in the same ink. So I'm going to ink this up with our Fallen, let's see, waterfall ink from Pink Fur Studios. I'll go ahead and stamp him a second time. Get his little nose. There's something on my stamp. All right, since we made a little boo-boo right there, we're going to fix that before we go any further. I think before I add the snowflakes, I'm going to just add a little bit of color. So let me grab a scrap piece of paper. I'm going to stick it under my card right there so I don't get it all over my desk. We'll add a little bit of color off the edge of our card. And then I'll take my stencil and I will come back with a heavier application of ink. We have our snowflakes on the inside and it distracts from our boo-boo. And nobody will ever be the wiser. And then I've got my snowflakes. We're going to add those. Let me grab my tweezers. Add liquid glue behind our little snowflakes. I'm just going to add little dots along that main stem of each snowflake. There on those little points. this one right over there. Our next largest one, we'll go ahead and add it. Now you could totally like let those just glue the center down and let that pop up, but I'm going to add some embellishments as well to the center of my snowflakes. So we're going to add our third one right here. That way it'll complete our visual triangle. I have some little glitter drops I'm going to add to my snowflakes. So I'm going to add that big one here. One in the center of each of our little snowflakes. So we'll pick those up. We'll just add it to the center of each one of them. That way, it adds a little bit of sparkle to each of those. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add some white gel pen highlights to our bumble and our star. I can get my gel pen going. I'm also going to add a little bit more sparkle to him as well. So we'll add those highlights in there, just around his little face, and a little on his hands. He has a little highlight on his little toesies. All right, I'm going to take a Zig 2-way glue pen, and I'm going to add a little glue to our little bumble, just in certain areas. Go ahead and add a little to our little star as well. Because I'm going to take and add some glitter to him and our little star. Because it is a Christmas card. Now when that glue dries, it's going to really, you'll see a difference in the star and the glitter with that glitter. All right, my friends, here is a closer look at my card. So look at the inside. I hope that you like this video. If you do, you're probably going to like the one coming up right over there. I'll see you in that video. Bye, guys. Stay crafty. Love you.